fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right. All right. Welcome back to From 8 Arbitration. Got a long episode today. I'm going to cover a lot of topics. Going to be the ultimate salted peanuts, but I've got a lot of screenshots. People send me stuff. I'm not going to get to everything, so I may do another one Tuesday. I'm going to do the Lions Den Tuesday. I've also got to get on a Zoom and do a little bit of training for some individuals, so I look forward to that. I'm going to do Lions Den. I may do something after that, but I've got a lot of screenshots that have come in. We're getting bombarded right now on this workroom floor, and so I'm going to cover as much as I can today. Tuesday, I'll get back into it. I'm going to do Lions Den. I want to kind of keep things separate from that, though. That's a CLC thing. We're doing route protection on that. I don't want to vary from that. So do some route protection on the Lions Den Tuesday. We'll be at the California State Convention the rest of the week, flying straight to Jersey, and going to have a great time there. So, yeah, got a lot of stuff going on right now. Schedule's kind of full, but tonight's going to be the ultimate salted peanuts. Got a lot of shit to cover. Some shout-outs first. Branch 43. I talked about this on the Lions Den this past week. James and I, David Grosskopf, Pam Donato, we went to Branch 43, had an absolutely amazing time there. Great group of people. That place was packed. It was wonderful seeing it. I think, could be wrong, I think we stayed till about 11:30 at night. And so we were answering questions, had a lot of questions for us, stayed there all night answering questions, and had a fantastic time. A lot of great people there. They got a fantastic president as well, Ted Thompson. Him and I, we go way back to 2012. We were in the same arbitration advocacy class together. And he sat right beside me, matter of fact. He said, "Do you remember me?" Now, he's got a beard that's about 6 feet long. He didn't have that when we was in advocate training. But I said, "Yeah, I remember you." I said, "You had already had your first case. Matter of fact, you won it the week of the advocate training." And so he's like, "Yeah." So I do remember. And so had a great time catching up with him. We said, "Hey, we got to do this again, man." Fantastic individual. Fantastic president. They're very fortunate to have him. So, yeah, Branch 43. Got to give some shout-outs. Hamilton Branch 426. Hamilton Branch 426. And the Parkdale Piranhas. You know, my station, we're called the Belmead Mafia. They got the Parkdale Piranhas. And so he had a steward, and they said this dude was they were just the piranhas, which I love. Any station manager says, "I hate coming here. Y'all are just a bunch of piranhas." I'll take that. That's what I want nationwide. So some shout-outs there. I also went to Seymour, Indiana. There's about 7 of us there. We went and ate. I had a fantastic time with those individuals, our brothers there, just talking small station stuff. And I've told y'all this is going to be one of the focal points of the James Henry presidency, are small stations. Big stations obviously going to get that love, but they have very good training most of the time in larger branches. And so small branches, small stations, we're going to get out there and educate them. A lot of those individuals saying that, listening to the podcast is the only training they get, which is sad. It's unfortunate. But I've always said this: small stations are not votes. You could have 50 small stations, and they're not as many votes as large stations. So a lot of your business agents don't give a damn about small stations, and that's just the truth. That's the cold, hard fucking facts. I talk to some of these small stations, and I say, has your business agent been down here? Who's that? You've never seen your business agent? Never seen them. That's a crying shame. Every carrier should feel needed, wanted, and educated in this union. Every carrier. I don't care if it's a carrier in one route in a rural office 16 hours away from the next branch, that individual needs to feel loved and needed and important. And so we're going to do that when the CLC takes over this thing. That's a promise. So it was great getting out there to Seymour, Indiana, talking to those individuals. Some great, great brothers down there. We had a good time. Also got some more shout outs. I'd like to give out a shout out to Walt McGregory for helping smaller branches in other states with grievance help and case building on his own personal time. He gets no pay or recognition for it. Walt embodies what a union is supposed to be. And I agree. Walt will be the next business agent of his region. He's running with the CLC slate. So Walt McGregory is a fantastic individual. Also a shout out to the Roseville Wrecking Ball, Joshua Shroom, not only for his great podcast, Parcels of Knowledge, but also the one-on-one help. He is an Article 8 scholar. And thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now more than ever, because our Article 8 is fucked up right now with what our president has done to it. To me, and this is not an insult to anybody. This is not an insult to anybody. This is how I feel. Article 8 should be dumbed down to Article 8 for dummies. That's how I feel. When you go into these to the bookshops and you see such and such for dummies, Article 8 for dummies. That's how it should be. It shouldn't take a scholar, a rocket scientist to figure out Article 8, and we keep doing things to fuck that up. We're trying to educate stewards day one, and you get into Article 8, and it's like you need a doctorate. We need changes to Article 8 that simplify that, rather than something that's going to take an Albert Einstein to get in there and figure it out. We got two dumb shits up at the top that keep putting things in Article 8. Management's not going to abide by Article 8. It doesn't matter what you do. They're not going to abide by it. So it doesn't matter what kind of memos you sign. They're not abiding by Article 8. They're already, they're doing that already. We talked about that. I'll talk about it again today. We need to simplify Article 8. Anyway. So it says, Joshua Shroom's an Article 8 scholar. Good God, thank you. Joshua also goes the extra mile to send white papers and follow-up phone calls to ask how the informal formal went. He is a breakout star in this union, and I agree with that. Thanks, Corey, for everything you do for the City Letter Carrier craft and your willingness to shine a light on those helping others out of the kindness of their hearts. Absolutely. Another thing, Bill Kriebel's Backyard Barbecue. CLC candidate for Region 12, and Bill will win the business agent for Region 12. That dude's a beast, a straight-up damn beast. And so Bill Kriebel's Backyard Barbecue, CLC candidate for Region 12, August 31st, 2025, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Wayne A. Grube Park, Pavilion 3. Access on E. Bull's Head Road. Grumpy's Barbecue Chicken, Mac and Cheese, Coleslaw, and Roll with Butter. Beer, water, soda, merchandise, door prize, $50 donation. So that's Bill Kriebel's Backyard Barbecue, CLC candidate for Region 12. And Bill will win that business agent spot. Their business agent right now is a Renfro lackey, an absolute abomination to his people. And so I cannot wait for them to get true representation in that region, Region 12. They are lacking big time. Got another one. Hey, Brother Corey, hope I'm not too late to ask for a shout out on this week's episode. Now, this is the one I could not find the other day. I found it. Please show some love to brothers Richie Ray, Chris Reed, and Walter McGregory for the powerful conversation on mental health in episode 70 of the Hot House podcast. And I've seen a lot of people talk about episode 70 of Richie Ray's podcast, Hot House, about mental health. And we did it one here. I know that the CCA Corner did one. Richie Ray did one, episode 70. A lot of things going on right now with the City Letter Carriers Light Blue. A lot of stuff going on. And so the more awareness, the better. And so they did a fantastic podcast on episode 70, The Hot House of Richie Ray. It was a great episode, highly recommended for all letter carriers to hear in full. That said, I also want to give a shout out to many letter carriers out there using podcasts to spread knowledge and uplift this union. And did you ever think you'd see a day where the city letter carriers had taken over the education for this union? Because our union does a piss poor job of it. Our union does a piss poor job of educating the city letter carriers. They do the mandatory. What's the mandatory basics that we have to do? That's what most regions do. The basics that they're mandated to do. I never thought I'd see a day where the city letter carriers had to start doing podcasts on their own time, on their own dime, to educate light blue. But that's where we're at with this administration that we have now. A bunch of damn gutless cowards that can't educate shit, this gatekeeping mentality that we have in this union right now. It's the reason I cannot wait to get in there. Like I said, James Henry's going to bring back the director of education because he understands the importance of education. That's what we do. Holy shit. But brothers Alan Gigax and Michael Brzamley, Classes of Male Podcast. I just killed that last name. I wasn't expecting that. Alan Gigax and Michael Brzamley, Classes of Male Podcast, always bringing educational value. Brother Joshua Shroom, just talked about that one. Parcels of Knowledge, also known as the Grievance Genius and the Roseville Wrecking Ball, doing amazing work. The Next Generation Letter Carriers podcast crew, love that show. They're doing great things. Branch 458 podcast with brothers Casey and E. Rob, consistently dropping real knowledge. Brother Mike Cariff and Mike Drop Mondays is really good. Elliot and Cole on the workroom floor, must listen for shop stewards, great tips every time. Brother Fred Woodley, Delivering Solidarity, another solid show. Shout out to other union brothers out there putting in work through podcasting and education. Every voice counts. And of course, the podfather himself, you, Brother Corey, with From 8 Arbitration, your podcast lit the fire for many of us to fight again in the NLC. We all love and appreciate you for that. And I love you, brothers. Brother Abraham Ascar. Or Abraham Ascar. I hope I said that right, my man. Brother Abraham Ascar, Branch 4323, Marrero, Louisiana. So there you go, baby. Sorry I messed that up last time. I couldn't find it. You shot me a message that, hey, it's right here. So there you have it. So there's you some shout outs. I'll probably find some more in just a bit because I had a bunch of them. But got a lot of screenshots I'm going to go over. So I'm just going to start going over them, all right? And one of the things I saw, and I wanted to address it, I may be petty here, but we're dealing a lot with attendance. We're under attack right now with attendance. I've got a lot of stuff we're going to cover on attendance. One of the things it says is a new incentive program effective next quarter. For each month in the quarter, you have no scheduled absences. Your name will be put in a drawing to win a gift card. That gives you 3 chances to win each quarter. We will start August 1st for this quarter, so you will have 1 chance to win this quarter. The drawings be held after each quarter. Good luck. And this is a sign that management put up because they don't want us having any unscheduled absences. I get it. But, and I might be a party pooper, but anytime you do things like this, it terrifies the shit out of me. Okay? Because what I don't want is, I don't want somebody aspiring to win a gift card, I don't know what the gift card is, coming to work with the flu because they don't want to miss out on a gift card. So I'm going to have a station full of sick people because they're going to try to get this gift card. I don't want that. I want you to be at home if you're sick. I don't want you coming in infecting all my carriers because you're trying to get a gift card. And like I said, I may be a party pooper on that. But when you say effective next quarter, for each month in the quarter, you have no unscheduled absences. Your name will be put in a drawing to win a gift card. That gives you 3 chances to win each quarter. We will start August 1st for this quarter. So you will have 1 chance to win this quarter. The drawings will be held after each quarter. Good luck. So, hey, That's great. Sounds good. Cut out on unscheduled absences. But like I said, to me, that's just encouraging people to come to work that are sick as hell. And I'm old. All my carriers are old. I don't want my carriers being subjected to somebody who's saying, man, I'm sick as hell, but I've got to go get this gift card. So that's how I think. Do y'all think like that? Or do y'all like, I want the gift card. I don't care. I'm going to come to work sick and get this gift card. But so here's another thing that I saw. Good morning. This is what management is doing in the St. Louis installation. Management is calling carriers back to the station and have the carriers talk to the MCSO or the postmaster about sampling requests and saying the carriers have to go back to the address even if they pass the address up and scan whatever is in the mailbox. I have mostly businesses on my route, so what am I supposed to do? Ask the receptionist to go get the mail? She already open? So this sampling request, this is the big thing, because what it is management wants to say how long it takes when you drop the mail in the outgoing mail to that mail to reach its destination. That's the reason these sampling requests are so important to them. How long does it take? You put the mail in the outgoing mail, when we pick it up to the time that we deliver it, how long does that take? I get it. The problem is you're using the scanner to do it, and that scanner's fucked up. Anytime you have this happen, first off, tell your carriers that if they call back to have a shop steward present, okay? Because if an MCSO or postmaster are talking to them, if they're asking any questions, they're being investigated, okay? I'd have them say, I need my shop steward present. If they're telling you to go back out, what I would do if I'm the shop steward, if they're telling the carriers to go back out, I'm going to put in an information request requesting the SOP for this. All right? And it's all over social media right now, this SOP. Because in the SOP, it tells you, do not backtrack. It tells you that. So I'm going to ask for the SOP. And then I'm going to show that to the MCSO and the postmaster and say, are you saying that this SOP is not right? Is it in error? Because the SOP tells you, do not backtrack. It also tells you that the scanners malfunction, that they're not accurate. It tells you that in the SOP. It tells you the reasons that the scanners can be faulty. And so I know that when I'm doing my route, I'll be driving down the street to my first stop, and the scanner will be giving me one of these sampling requests as I'm passing the address going to my first stop. So it's like anytime you're around it, it's going to give you a sampling request. You may be at the beginning of your route, and that may be at the end of your route, and it's giving you sampling requests. And so I have a big problem with that. But that's just the environment we're in right now. A lot of that's going on around the country. Ask for the SOP. Ask for the SOP on these sampling requests. That's going to help you out of a lot of this discipline, because it's going to tell you right there that these scanners are faulty. It's going to tell you not to backtrack. A lot of managers are telling you to falsify the scan. They'll say, hey, if it pops up and you've already passed the address, just scan the letter that you're fixing to deliver. Well, that's falsifying scans. So anyway, that's another thing that popped up. Here's a letter of warning that I wanted to go over. And it's, I believe J-Ma may have talked about this one. I heard a little bit of clip of his. And so it's about a letter of warning where a carrier got a letter of warning for failure to follow instructions, conduct. And what happened was the carrier has a van that has air conditioning, okay? The air conditioning does not work. So he has no air movement. At least we have a fan. And people are like, it's just like a microwave oven. Like one of these confectioner's ovens, you turn the fan on, it's just blowing hot air around. But if you're sweating profusely, the fan does at least help a bit. Not much, but a bit. In a van, if you have no air conditioning, you have nothing. Your vehicle is going to be 130 degrees if you have no air conditioning. That's That's the privilege of having a van. Well, this van has no air conditioning. So this carrier has no air movement whatsoever. And so he tells them, I'm not taking the van because the air conditioning's out, and I feel that it's unsafe. And so management issues him discipline for not going out in an unsafe vehicle. I'm going to read it to you. And this is what they think about you. Okay, we've had our brother, Mr. Gates, has passed away. We've had several of our brothers pass away already this year. We did not attack heat like we should have nationwide. We should have punished management for what they did with falsifying this heat training. We should have punished them, so much so that they would never, ever put anything above our safety, like mail. I don't care about the mail. I care about my safety. But the union did a piss poor job of punishing management. I'm about punishing them. But anyway, this is what you get. Letter warning. On Wednesday, July 30th, 2025, you refused to do the requirements of the job by going out and delivering the mail, stating it was because it was unsafe due to it being hot and your vehicle didn't have AC. You were given the opportunity to explain your action in a PDI on August 6th, 2025. During that interview, when asked if you were aware that per the ELM 66513, you're expected to discharge your assigned duties conscientiously and effectively, you answered no. When asked if you're aware that per ELM 66515, the employees must obey the instructions of their supervisor, if an employee has reason to question the propriety of a supervisor's order, the individual must nevertheless carry out the order and may immediately file a protest in writing to the official in charge of the installation or may appeal through official channels. You answered, unless it affects my health and safety. I don't need to follow the instructions. That's a great answer. The vehicle wasn't working, and it was 90 degrees. When asked if it was true that you would not go out and deliver your assigned route because the vehicle did not have AC, you answered yes. The weather was above 90 degrees. You were then asked if you have a note stating you can't work in 90-degree weather. I'm going to ask for management's training in HIP in an information request. I'm going to ask for management's training records, specifically HIP training, where it talks about 80-degree threshold. Okay? 80 degrees, that triggers HIP, right? 80 degree triggers HIP. So I'm going to ask in an information request for management's training records, specifically HIP training. I'll read that again. You were then asked if you have a note stating you can't work in 90-degree weather. You answered, it's against safety and health advisory in the new contract. Vehicles need to be working. You were then asked if you know that it is not a requirement to have AC in your delivery vehicle, but rather a luxury that some carriers have. You answered, no, not according to the JCAM. You were asked if you have been offered or given a cooling towel. You answered, no. You were then asked if the office supplied bottled water to ensure you stay hydrated. You answered, yes. Then you were asked if the office supplies electrolytes to help you stay hydrated. You answered, I am assuming so, yes. You're also asked how you've been personally prepared yourself to be able to work outside in hot, cold, and rainy weather. You answered, I hydrate the night before. I drink plenty of water the night before and bring a sweat towel with me. Lastly, you were asked if you're aware you would be working outside in all types of weather when you got the job at the post office. You answered, yes. Your safety is important to us, but also you're expected to do the job that you were hired to do smartly. I'll read that again. Your safety is important to us, but also you're expected to do the job that you are hired to do smartly. You're given or offered an item to keep yourself hydrated and cooler while working. You're given a vehicle that worked. You just weren't satisfied with that vehicle because it didn't have AC. Your actions are in violation of postal rules and regulations, which include but are not limited to the following. ELM 665.11, loyalty. Employees are expected to be loyal to the United States government and uphold the policies and regulations of the Postal Service. I cannot violate that. You'll win it on that alone. You put an improper charge on me. Discharge of duties. Employees are expected to discharge their assigned duties conscientiously and effectively. That's subjective because to me, I did. I put safety above your numbers, which I will always do. Obedience to orders. Employees must obey the instructions of their supervisors. And the guy answered it correctly, unless that order is unsafe. And so I'm going to say that order is unsafe. I'm going to request, like I said, the training records of management to see if they have done HIP. I'm also going to ask the carrier to look up his HIP training. If it's been falsified, I'm going to put that in this disciplinary packet. And then I'm going to request from management the employee's HIP training and see if they will include the falsified HIP training. And then we'll just start winning grievances, these safety grievances, and when it deals with discipline, on management's dishonesty, okay, when we talk about the falsification of HIP training. We'll just start putting that in these case files, okay? They're not going to want that to go to arbitration, showing that they falsified HIP training. So Article 14 will obviously be one of our things, one of our contentions. I don't know that I would make that an issue statement because in a discipline case, the burden is on management. And so you'll talk about Article 16, Article 19 via Section 115 of the M39 Handbook. If you put Article 14, you don't want there to be a possibility of it changing to a contract case because then that burden shifts to us. But you can put the contention of Article 14 in there, okay? Just don't make it an issue. Does that make sense? Article 16, the burden's on management. It's discipline. Article 14, that's contract. That burden's going to fall on us. So I would put the Article 14 language as a contention, not an issue, all right? And so that's how we'll address that. But any vehicle that's not working properly, when it pertains to air, if your fan's not working, I'm not driving it. That's the only circulation I get. I can drink all day. I can have cooling towels. I can have 15 coolers, okay? But while I'm delivering, that does me no good unless I'm going to continuously stop, put towels on me, put ice on me, put cold water on me, drink all these fluids. That's great. But circulation, that's what that's in there for, circulation. So if I have an AC unit and it's not working, I need another vehicle. But it just goes to show you that these motherfuckers don't care about us, okay? They don't care about us. They don't care about our safety, our health. They will kill us in the name of numbers, okay? They've shown that through Mr. Gates. I will always say that they killed that man. For the sake of numbers, keep it moving, beat the heat. They will kill us for the sake of numbers, which is odd. Because I got this message. I'm wondering if this is going on with any other offices. So at my office in Houston, we got routes that are not going out. Management is claiming there's not enough people to carry it while simultaneously they are not maximizing the overtime and bringing in CCAs at 10 a.m. and people coming in on non-scheduled days at 11 a.m. So these routes are just not going out. But this individual who says, hey, for safety reasons, I'm not going to take this vehicle. We're going to give you a letter warning. Y'all see the double standard that I'm always talking about? The double standard between us and them? That's one of the things we're going to address when we take over. Is the double standard. Anybody I meet with is going to have to answer for the double standard. They're going to have to answer for that. The double standard of it all. We're going to talk a little bit about the Article 8 things because I addressed this last week, got quite hostile. Got quite hostile with these Article 8 issues where it talks about the 50%, you cannot grieve it. These things go to headquarters. People are saying, well, I'm putting in an information request and we're going to grieve it locally. We're just going to start grieving it locally. Here's somebody put in an information request. And here's the response to the information request, which is correct, according to your president and his counterpart, who forced this. We voted this down in the TA, and they forced this through this stipulated award through Nolan, okay? This is one of the things that arbitrator Nolan said, hey, the work rules, they're going to be put in as addressed, okay? So these things were pushed in on us, even though we voted it down. Here's what management says. Here's an information request. We asked for the information, and management says regarding the requested information, in accordance with the MOU regarding resolution of issues left open by the Nolan Award of March 21st, 2025, attached, any disputes regarding the proper payment input in GATS shall be addressed by the national parties. We're already providing this information to the parties at the national level. So in other words, we're not going to give you the information. We're doing what we're supposed to do because your president signed off on this. He put this in the new contract. I know that y'all voted it down, but he put it through there anyway, and we thanked him. We sent him a Christmas present for that because he kept us from having to pay these monetary awards that these local parties, the local union wants to use against us. We sent your president a thank you card and a present for doing that for us. So we're not going to give you the information you requested because we're only obligated to do one thing, send that to headquarters. So we sent you this information request, this response, in accordance with the MOU regarding resolution of issues left open by the Nolan Award of March 21st, 2025, attached. Any disputes regarding the proper payment input in GATS shall be addressed by the national parties. We already providing the information to the parties at the national level. So there you have it. There you have it. That's what happens when you have an individual running as president, that's the president of your union, that doesn't understand the workroom floor and doesn't understand the repercussions of things like forcing through these Article 8 things. The carriers looked at it and we said, hey, that's trouble. That's trouble. We don't want that in our article, in our JCAM. We don't want that under Article 8, these changes, okay? And so we're going to vote those down. We've looked at it. We've educated ourselves on it. We've had hundreds of Zoom meetings about each one of these provisions. And so the carriers have educated ourselves. And Renfro, we appreciate it, but we don't want them in there. So we're going to vote this TA down, okay? Because these things could potentially be harmful to us. And then you have a president turn his back on the will of the people and put it in there anyway. And so this is what happens when you do that. Now we have this. This was sent out from my business agent. It says, good afternoon. Below is information that was received from the NBA's office regarding the 12 and 60 payments for carriers. The post office did not identify all employees who worked in excess. Please let your carriers know to keep track if they are over the work limits so we can make sure they are properly compensated. Any issues or missing times, please let me know ASAP. Now, that's not under the provision of that Article 8 thing, right? That provision says any issues will be addressed by national. That district, the Postal Service, they will pick someone to handle these issues. That's what Renfro decided, that he would trust management. Did y'all hear me? Renfro decided that he would trust management more than he trusts his union. And that's what he did. Because anytime you say, hey, any of these payments, it's going to be exclusively management's obligation. We're not going to grieve it. I'm not going to allow my stewards to grieve it, branches to grieve it. I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow outside teams to go in and grieve these things. I'm not going to allow information requests because I trust management to do their job. I trust management so much that I'm going to let them be exclusively over the payment of these violations. So much so that they can just send that shit to me at National, to my people. I'll let them do that. That's how much I trust them. They didn't make it one fucking pay period. But your president has so much faith in the motherfuckers he works with that he gave them carte blanche over this provision. They will handle this. And any disputes, they'll come to me. Why? Because I'm not going to hold them accountable. Here's what the business agent says. Please see the attached report showing the hours worked for carriers who exceeded either 12 hours in a day or 60 hours in a week during the pay period 15, pay period 16, and pay period 17, as identified by the USPS. The new language in Article 8, Section 5G3 took effect on July 1st. The automatic payroll updates have not been put in place to compensate letter carriers who voluntarily agree to work in excess of 12 hours in a service day or 60 hours in a service week. As explained in Article 8, Section 4G, any letter carrier who works over these limitations is automatically paid an additional 50% of their base hourly straight time rate. Now that took away our rights to an escalated monetary award. And that's all that your president did, is he worked with management in a way to save them from an escalated monetary award. And that's all that is. I'll read it again. As explained in Article 8, Section 4G, any letter carrier who works over these limitations is automatically paid an additional 50% of their base hourly straight time rate. Until the pay systems are updated, the parties have agreed to a process that requires management at the district level to review the hours of every letter carrier and identify the city letter carriers who have worked in excess of the daily and weekly limitations during the previous pay period. So you got one individual looking at the entire district. Management must then input the pay adjustments. Now, what does that mean? When y'all see the word must. Management must then input the pay adjustments. Then why are we fucking with this today? Why do we have emails going out from MBAs to tell the carrier to do that work? Y'all look at y'all's work. Y'all look at y'all's times. Y'all look at y'all's records. Y'all look at tax. We're going to put this burden on y'all to do all these things, research it for us, and then send us these things so then we can send it to national. That's not part of the fucking memo. That's not part of the fucking memo. So when it says management must, obviously they didn't get the fucking memo because they're not doing it. Or else the carriers wouldn't have to be doing this fucking work, keeping up with their times. Management must then input the pay adjustments for those individuals into their grievance arbitration tracking system, GATS. Every pay period, the Postal Service must provide documentation to the NELC at the headquarters level, detailing which employees worked over the limitations and how much each letter carrier was compensated. Once the payroll system is updated, the additional compensation will be automatically paid. Now, how much do y'all want to bet that that's fucked up too? The Postal Service is now in the process of entering the time in excess of 12 and 60 into the GATS for payroll. Since we are after the July 1 and until the Postal Service's payroll systems are ready to provide automatic payments, any disputes regarding the proper payment for hours worked will be handled at the headquarters level. Again, the information and any disputes will be handled at the headquarters level. And now my business agent, he highlighted that in yellow because he wants everybody to know that you can't file a grievance. It's not grievable. So he highlighted this in yellow. Since we are after July 1 and until the Postal Service's payroll systems are ready to provide automatic payments, any disputes regarding the proper payment for hours worked will be handled at the headquarters level. Again, the information and any disputes will be handled at the headquarters level. Now, attached is the GATS payment report. The report includes the payments previously reported and appears to include payments for pay periods prior to pay period 15. And then they send all these documents and they want you to go over them. So, again, it's a clusterfuck because your president decided to cram through something we voted down. And so this is all on him. But it's fallen back on us because he trusted the Postal Service to do the right thing. And here we are. So there's that. I'm going to get off of that. I went off on that last week. But how this motherfucker continues to trust management. Now, again, he works with a different set of managers, okay? He deals with people making, $300,000 or $400,000 a year up there in suits. And so when they meet with people, the people that he meets with may have the best intentions. And they're like, we will get this right. We'll make sure our people are educated. He doesn't understand that we work with fools down here. We work with idiots at the district and area level. They're fools. And so that's what we deal with. So he continues to do things detrimental to us because he doesn't understand us. He does not understand the workroom floor and what we deal with. Why? Because he was at a very small station in Mississippi. He did not have to deal with 1% of what we have to deal with. He is oblivious to the workroom floor. He was at a very small station. Then he was president of a state that has less members than the city of Memphis. Mississippi has less members in the entire state than Memphis. So here's the state president, and you had people that were just enamored by him and took him with them up to national. And here's what you get. You get people writing memos, putting times in memos, doing things, Article 8 changes that the will of the people is to vote it down, and he crammed it through anyway. And so here's what you get. You get him trusting management to do the right thing, and so it's just a clusterfuck. Fucked everything up. Here's another thing somebody sent me. And it's a PS Form 2548. 2548. It's all these training things. And it talks about training requirements. 131.41 is your responsibility to verbally inform management when you're of the opinion. It's got all these different provisions, right? You see at the bottom, PS Form 2548. Somebody sent me this. And across the top, it has check training needs, required instructions given, administrator's signature, time, training time used, additional training provided, administrator's signature and date, time used, employee's signature and date. Employee's signature and date. This is PS Form 2548. Get your pen. M Document 529. M Document 529. Okay? M Document 529. The grievance concerns whether or not letter carriers in this local office may be required to initial a Form 2548A individual training record, city letter carrier indicating attendance at periodic stand-up safety talks. Local management supports its actions on the basis of sections 124.12 and 124.13 of the P23 Orientation and Craft Skill Training Handbook. We mutually agreed, without prejudice to any other arguments that may be raised by the parties, that we found no requirements under the referenced sections of the P23 Handbook that letter carriers initial, date, or verify the time used for periodic safety talks on PS Form 2548. The referenced sections clearly concern initial craft skill training. Accordingly, this grievance is remanded to Step 3 for further processing as appropriate. So M529, we do not have to sign anything, okay? And this is specifically the 2548. That's exactly what the carrier sent me, okay? So there's that. Knocking shit down. Now I'm going to play a clip for you, and I'm on about 30 different social media sites. And so somebody put this up, and it sounds like an individual doing training for these return to work packets, because they're all over us right now for attendance. So they're going over this packet for this return to work, okay? And you'll listen to this guy explaining about how they're going to do things, and they want these case files to be pristine. And so that when they go to arbitration or the DRT or the Formula A, they can win it. So they want these packets put in there, okay? And showing that they have told us every single time we call out, they want these things used, okay? And so if you call out once, you're going to get a return to work packet. Call out 20 times, every single time you're going to get a return to work packet, all right? And so this cat's talking about this training. Just packets, what they're going to do. And we're going to talk about it on the other side of it, all right? So here's this cat. Don't know where it's from. Don't have a clue. Could be AI. And so found it on a site somewhere. Can't remember the site I found it on. But here it is. I'm going to let you listen to it, and then I'm going to come back on the other side. We're going to talk about it, all right?
900 now. For 6 stations, it's a lot. We write a lot of people up. And not all of them stick, but at least we create, the employee knows if they mess up, they're going to be getting disciplined. Okay? The idea for disciplinary actions is to correct employee behavior. And that's the only tool that we have, right? And that is what the Westpac was doing, and it's working out with them. I'm not telling to write everybody up. This is not what it is about the training. Even though sometimes, we should, but this is not what the training is about. The training is about attendance. We got to monitor their attendance. So when it comes to that moment, when we have to write them up, those requests for discipline packages are going to be tight. And they're going to be so tight that when it goes to formal step A, or it goes to a step B, or even in arbitration, we have a higher chance to succeed, a higher chance to uphold the letter warning, the suspension, or the removal. Okay? So, the return to work. So, it has 5 pages, right? The first page talks about general things, okay? And you're going to meet with the employee every time the employee comes back to work from an unscheduled absence. Every single time the employee comes back to work from an unscheduled absence, you're going to have this 2, maximum 3-minute conversation with the employee. Actually, it's not even a conversation. It's just you telling them, hey, we're monitoring your attendance. You were out. Maybe, if the employee's running out of FMLA, tell them, listen, your FMLA is about to run out. Or, hey, you're exceeding your FMLA, frequencies. The attendant care is only 80 hours. It's not. Some employees believe that FMLA is like 480 hours per case. That's not how it is. It's for every case, it's general hours, 480 hours. Sometimes if you see the employee has issues, maybe, hey, listen, maybe you need EAP, here's information. And then you tell the employee, I'm monitoring your attendance as per the ELM. You rip the first page, and you give them all the other 4 pages. All the other 4 pages have all the attendance rules and regulations. Okay? Now, when you read the first page, it's after you filled it out, right? You filled it out. Now, you give the employee an option. And this would probably be brief, but I gotta give you the training that we received from when we went to Texas, right? You're gonna tell the employee to sign this. Most of the time, you're gonna tell you, it's over you, I'm not gonna sign it, which is fine. You just put employee refuse to sign, and that's it. Okay? This one right here, you keep. That's the only page that you keep. And you give the employee the rest. What the employee does with this rest, they could keep it at their case, they could take it on the route with them, they could throw it in the garbage, they could use it as toilet paper, whatever they want. All we're required to do is to have this little page right here. That's proof that we went through this, exercise. All right. Now the employees might tell you, I gotta see my steward before I talk to you. No. This is not gonna lead to discipline. This is not an official discussion. This is not an investigative interview. I'm just monitoring your attendance per the ELM, and that's all we're doing. If they want to talk to a steward, okay. You're going to tell the steward, I'm just communicating the attendance. There's no need for the steward.
Okay, so you heard the guy talking about this packet, saying, hey, look, just bring them in there. You talk. They don't need to talk. You talk. The requirement for the signature, it's optional. If they don't want to, they can just throw it in the trash or whatever. It's not an official discussion. We want these things to go into these case files, these packets, okay? And so they're trying to cut down on our attendance. And so I've gotten the attendance packet from several people across the country. And so they're everywhere. Some people are getting them off tables. Some people are getting them on kind of on the sly. It says return to work checklist on today's date. The following attendance related issues were reviewed with, got the employee name. 1, clock rings. All employees are required to utilize the basic clock rings daily on a mobile device or electronic badge reader when required. 2, tardiness. All employees are required to report for their scheduled tour on time. 3, cancellation of overtime. When scheduled for overtime, the overtime becomes part of your regular scheduled tour. Cancellation of any deviations to include tardiness is considered to be irregular in attendance and will be documented as such on both the PS Form 3971 and PS Form 3972 as absent from overtime. Okay? Now they're going to put that on a 3971 and a 3972 absent from overtime. So if you cancel or deviation to include tardiness is considered to be irregular in attendance. So they're using absent from overtime on attendance. And we'll address that on another thing because I believe you cannot use absent from overtime. Overtime is covered under Article 8. And so 4, sick leave and leave without pay. When unscheduled sick leave and leave without pay are considered to be irregular in attendance. All employees are required to be regular in attendance. Regular attendance is reporting as scheduled and on time. Now, I'm not messing up reading this. This is how it actually is spelled out. So I know y'all probably think I'm intoxicated. That's how this thing is spelled out. So whoever did these things doesn't know proper sentence formulations. And so these sentences are not formed very well. 5, request for emergency annual is considered unscheduled and will be documented as irregular attendance. Request for emergency annual will be approved or disapproved based on the reasons for the emergency. And then it's pattern setting, call-ins in conjunction with scheduled days off, scheduled annual leave, holidays, and or specific times of the week. Review the 3972. So I've always got a kick out of that, call-ins in conjunction with your scheduled days off. I've always found that funny. And I've had some of my funnest times in arbitration when management uses that argument. Well, they call in, it just seems like every time they call in, it's conjunction with their scheduled day off. So say that my day off is Sunday and Thursday. Okay? So my day off is Sunday and Thursday. So I've got Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So what day can I call in that's not in conjunction with my scheduled day off? I can't call in Saturday or Monday. I can call in Tuesday, but I can't call in Wednesday or Friday. So Tuesday's the only day of the week I can call in that's not in conjunction with my scheduled day off. Matter of fact, I believe I did a closing argument where I talked to the carrier and I said, look, if you can just be sick on this date, and that's what I said. I looked at him, and it was in front of Arbitrator August, I believe, and she started laughing. I said, because they're saying that he's using these, it's a pattern that he's set, and they put him on Deems. It's a pattern he's setting that he's calling in conjunction with his scheduled day off. I said, so if you can do me a favor, only call in on Tuesday. Just get sick on Tuesday. And so that's how stupid that is. That's how stupid that is. And that's how I would make my contention. They're saying that you're calling in conjunction with your scheduled day off. Well, if I got Sunday and Wednesday, what days can I call out? If I got Sunday and Friday, what days can I call out? So. Other, AWOL, failure to notify a supervisor of the facility prior to an unscheduled absence. Irregular attendance. In addition, the following was reviewed. FMLA, dependent care, EAP, and all these sections of the M. There's about 30. Sections of the M that it just says, in addition, the following was reviewed, check off when completed. So all about 30 sections of the M. Then it has employee comments. I'm not writing anything on there. I'm not stating anything. I'm not talking to them. All right? Employees' comments. I'm not saying a word. I'm not saying anything. Employee signature, optional. If they say we'd like for you to sign right here, I'm going to tell you how to grieve that. And it's got management signature. And then they're just going to hand you a bunch of pages. So this is going on everywhere right now. This is rampant, right? If you go on episode 99 on from8arbitration.com, episode 99, all these things will be there for you to print off, these grievance starters, okay? There's a B-team decision in there that you can print off. It'll have management's arguments. It's got a good issue statement for you. And it's one that JB did here in Nashville. Did a fantastic job. We won it on these very things, these return to work packets, okay? The issue, did management violate Step 4 settlements for case numbers there, M544, M1302, and Section 3 of the Administrative Support Manual, ASM, via Articles 15 and 19 of the National Agreement when they established a policy requiring the carriers to comply and sign a non-postal form? If so, what is the appropriate remedy? So if they ask you to sign, I'm grieving it. If they say it's optional, don't care, you asked me to sign it. Okay? They don't even need to ask you to sign it. Doesn't matter if it's optional. They shouldn't say, I need you to sign right here, or you can sign right here. All right? If you want to talk to me about it, that's fine. You want to hand me some? I don't care, because I'm going to throw it in the trash just like dude said. When you tell me or ask me to sign it, I'm grieving it. I'm going to write a statement. So this B-team decision is episode 99 on from8arbitration.com. Episode 99. It's got a fantastic issue statement. Got another one where it talks about 15, 17, and 31. It says the dispute resolution team has resolved this grievance. The DRT agrees management at the Glenview Station violated the national agreement when requiring city letter carriers to sign welcome back letters or return to work letters. Management will cease and desist this practice. The DRT also agrees the letters signed by carriers, these got 4 carriers, will be removed from their personnel files immediately upon receipt of this decision and will not be cited or relied upon in any future disciplinary actions. Okay, and that's good. Anytime we sign one, let's grieve it and let's have it removed. These return to work letters or packets do not take the place of an Article 16.2 discussion. They do not take the place of an Article 16.2 discussion. We're going to argue first and foremost in any discipline that management has an obligation under 16.2 to have a discussion with me in private. You heard that guy say, these are not official discussions. You heard it on that audio. These are not official discussions. We're just bringing you in here and giving you 50,000 provisions to look at. So we're going to always say, under any discipline, management has an obligation on Article 16.2 to put me on notice that something I'm doing could result in discipline. And they did not do that. Well, we gave all these packets. That is not a 16.2 discussion. I've won several disciplinary actions because management said we gave him an official discussion and then he kept on going. You'll pull up the 3972. There's nothing in front of the official discussion. And so my argument had been, why did you give them an official discussion? They've not been absent. You gave him an official discussion the very first time he called in. What was the official discussion about? He's not a regular in attendance. So anytime you have management citing something, get the 3972. If they say, yeah, there was an official discussion, let's look at the 3972. Are there any dates in front of that date of the official discussion? If not, that's going to be an argument. We got an official discussion. We weren't deficient in anything. And that will be an argument of ours, okay? So these return to work packets, they do not take the place of an Article 16.2 discussion. I'm going to read management's position in this B-team decision. Management contends M554 cited by the union is in regards to operation of postal vehicles. Now this, I'm going to show you how ignorant management is here. And whether management properly used and developed a form relative to such. The issued being grieved in this case is attendance and not operation of a postal vehicle. It mentioned the use of a locally generated form, and it also states carriers are not to be required to sign the form or acknowledge the information was received. It also mentions that management has the right to document the fact that specific provisions of handbooks and manuals were reviewed by the carrier and that the information was provided to the carrier. Management is using the form, in this case, as a welcome back letter for attendants to discuss and make a personal notation of the date for their, if the carrier so chooses, own personal records. Management contends the welcome back letter or the return to work letter is a form issued by labor to aid management and to ensure they are citing correct ELM articles by giving employees the correct information and while having a discussion on the employee's attendance, positive or negative. There is no local policy stating that an employee must sign these letters. Article 15 has not been violated as the grievant has had the opportunity to file a grievance. Article 19 is irrelevant in this case. Did y'all hear that? Article 19 is irrelevant in this case. So they have no idea how we incorporate step force or anything outside the JCAM. Article 19 is irrelevant. And they're talking about M554. How do you think we got M554 in there? Article 19. But that's how stupid management is at the local level. Article 19 is irrelevant in this case. All information was provided to the steward in a timely manner. Therefore, there is no violation of Article 17 or 31. No violation has been committed under Article 16, as it is management's responsibility to discuss minor offenses with employees. I agree with that. So what's the minor offense when I call in once? What's the minor offense if I call in twice? Management requests NALC branch for cease and desist from filing frivolous grievances in an attempt to stop local management from effectively managing its operation. I'm going to read that again. Management requests NALC branch for cease and desist from filing frivolous grievances. And the thing about it is, JB, to me, is the best of the best. I've never seen anybody like him, ever. I'd put him against anybody. I guarantee you this. He'll probably get mad at me. I guarantee he probably has about a 95% winning percentage. I'm going to say that. Probably about a 95% winning percentage in this installation, 16 stations. He has never filed or taken forward a frivolous grievance. But they're saying management requests NALC branch 4 cease and desist from filing frivolous grievances. So they want us to get a cease and desist. So, and it's got some great language in here for you. This B-team decision, it's got the statements from the carriers saying that I was told to sign the attendance form. When I returned from my absence, Anna told me to sign the attendance form. When they issued you the letter of warning for attendance, I requested the information for the discipline. This letter was in your file. Is this your signature? Yes, it is. Okay, were you told to sign it? Yes. So they are using these things for disciplinary purposes, right? He told you that in that recording. All these things are going in discipline. All of these things are going in discipline. So if they tell you that you can't have a steward present, can this be used in disciplinary purposes? Yes. I need my steward present. It's got M15 in here in this DRT decision. M15, signatures or initials may be required to verify attendance at a meeting, receipt of a document, etc. However, to require an employee to sign that he has read and understood instruction as a condition of employment for which disciplinary action may be administered is inappropriate. That's M15. I'll read it again. Signatures or initials may be required to verify attendance at a meeting, receipt of a document, etc. However, to require an employee to sign that he has read and understood instruction as a condition of employment for which disciplinary action may be administered is inappropriate. Here's another one. Step 4 decision M544. M544. Management may document the fact that specific provisions of handbooks and manuals were reviewed by the carriers and that information regarding vehicle operations was given to the carriers. However, inasmuch as there is no national requirement for carriers to acknowledge that the subject information was received, carriers should not be required to sign a local form. And that's the one management was talking about, the vehicle operations. It's M544. M1302. The issue in this grievance is whether management violated the national agreement when a local policy was issued and carriers were required to sign off that they were present when the information was read to them. After reviewing this matter, the parties mutually agreed to the following. There is no requirement that carriers sign that the subject information was received. So all those will help you. Get on episode 99 and you can pull up this DRT decision. Okay? You can plagiarize it. Plagiarize the arguments. On there as well on episode 99. Two grievance starters. The first one. Did management at this station violate sections 324 and or 325 of the Administrative Support Manual via Article 19 of the National Agreement by utilizing a locally developed and or locally revised form? And if so, what should the remedy be? So this is just the form that they're handing us. If they're handing us anything that's not a PS form, I'm going to grieve it. I'm just going to grieve it. They say it's for their own thing, but when you hand it, if you want to go over it and keep it, that's fine. To me, if you hand it to me and it's a locally generated form, I'm going to grieve it. It says, did management at the station post office violate sections 324 and or 325 of the Administrative Support Manual via Article 19 of the National Agreement by utilizing a locally developed and or locally revised form? And if so, what should the remedy be? Again, if they hand me anything that's a local form, I'm going to grieve it. If it's not a PS form, I'm grieving it. Even if they don't require me to sign it. If you hand it to me, if you discuss it with me and hand it to me, and it's not a PS form, I'm going to grieve it. Did management at this station violate National Arbitrator Garrett's award in case number C427, the Step 4 settlement for case number M1325, and the pre-arbitration agreement for case M852 via Article 15 of the National Agreement by utilizing a locally developed and or locally revised existing form? And if so, what should the remedy be? And so I'm going to use this grievance starter. Y'all are fixing to get hammered with these return to work packets. I'm going to grieve them all. If they hand it to me, if you want to come read it to me and tell me good day, that's fine. When you hand it to me, after you read it to me, I'm going to grieve it. I'm grieving it. Okay? So there's your good grievance starter. It's got C427. The development of a new form locally to deal with stewards' absences from assigned duties on union business as a substitute for a national form embodied in an existing manual and thus in conflict with that manual, thus falls within the second paragraph that article, since the procedure there set forth has not been invoked by the Postal Service. It would follow that the form must be withdrawn. M1325. We agree that the issuance of local forms and the local revision of existing forms is governed by Section 325 of the Administrative Support Manual. The locally modified form at issue is not promulgated according to the ASM 325.12. Therefore, management will discontinue using this form. Again, if I go in there and they read me whatever, you can read me 6 million provisions. That's fine. Once you hand it to me as an acknowledgement of that, and it's not a PS form, I'm grieving it. When you hand it to me, I'm grieving it. It's not a PS form. Okay? Matter of fact, the bottom of it, it says postal attendance policies. Postal attendance policies. So it has no PS form on it. I'm grieving it. And it's got the contentions for you. Very good. It's also got the remedy. It's got a request for information form. So you small stations that may not have a very good request for information form, it's got a good request for information for you. It's got a request for steward time for you in this packet, okay? That's episode 99 on from8arbitration.com. You go to episodes, find 99. JB did this one. He's the best of the best. He's the best at it I've ever seen. Okay, so episode 99. It's got another one in there, another grievance starter. When you click on 99, it will have all these things on there for you to download. I think this episode talks about demonstrated performance as well as return to work packets. It's a very good episode. So go to episode 99. You'll have these grievance starters for you when they start handing out these return to work packets. They're after us. Plain and simple, they're after us. We have to get after them. We have to get after them. It's just that fucking simple. We cannot continue to let them run over us. Education, education, education. That's what it's all about. Education, 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 right? Here's the second one, the second grievance starter. Issue statement. Did management at this station violate Step 4 settlements for case numbers M554 and N1302 via Article 50 of the National Agreement by requiring letter carriers to sign a locally developed form? And if so, what should the remedy be? So the first one is for them handing it to me. You want to read it to me? Like I said, you want to read it to me? That's fine. You want to sit me down in there and read to me? You tell me it's not an official discussion. That's great. Once you hand it to me, this form, once you hand it to me, I'm grieving it. This one is them requiring me to sign it. Okay, so if they ask, do you want to sign it? I'm writing a statement that management asked me to sign it. Okay? It's got Step 4 settlement M544. This is one JB used. Management may document the fact that specific provisions of handbooks and manuals were reviewed by the carriers and that information regarding vehicle operations was given to the carriers. However, inasmuch as there is no national requirement for carriers to acknowledge that the subject information was received, carriers should not be required to sign a local form. Okay? However, inasmuch as there is no national requirement for carriers to acknowledge that the subject information was received, carriers should not be required to sign a local form. Here's 1302. The issue in this grievance is whether management violated the national agreement when a local policy was issued and carriers were required to sign off that they were present when the information was read to them. After reviewing this matter, the parties mutually agreed to the following. There is no requirement that carriers sign that the subject information was received. And so you got Publication 223. And a lot of that stuff. So that's another grievance starter. Very good for you if they want you to sign one. The first one is if they start handing you these locally generated forms. Things that they printed up themselves. The second, they want you to sign it. Okay, so we're going to stay on top of it here. We may do it again next week. This is everywhere right now. It's everywhere. And so we'll stay on top of it. We'll keep educating. Let me see if we got some more stuff. All right, that's long enough. That's an hour and 15. That's not nearly long as I thought it would be. We'll get into those charges Tuesday. I'm going to do the Lions Den Tuesday. I got to get on a Zoom and do a little bit of training for some individuals Tuesday. Tuesday's going to be very, very busy. My grandson's playing football Tuesday, so I'll be at that. But so there's your salted peanuts. There's a bunch of shit in that, right? Bunch of stuff we covered in that. But hey, keep sending me screenshots. We'll keep going over them. It seems like salted peanuts is everybody's favorite thing. And so we'll just keep going over them. You got topics? I'll tell you how we're going to beat it, okay? Anything I see on social media, I'm going to put it up. We're going to talk about how to beat it, all right? We're going to stay current and updated on these things, on the salted peanuts, on From 8 Arbitration, all right? Lions Den, more towards route protection right now. September 1 is getting here quicker and quicker, right? We're going to get back into 6-day counts, and so we're going to keep talking about route protection on Lions Den. So I'll talk to y'all Tuesday. All right. Y'all have a fantastic week. Stay safe. Safety is priority. There's nothing more important than our safety. Nothing. All right. Light Blue, I love you. I love you very much. And I'll talk to you Tuesday on the Lions Den. We'll get into those charges as well after that. Okay. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.